Breaking right now, Governor Snyder is speaking on the roads deal. Let's listen in on that and see what he's got to say.
And then making some changes on fees for heavy trucks of $50 million. A third one is, and you should be familiar with these, those that have been tracking this, there's improvements to warranties and competitive bidding as part of the transportation package that had been previously discussed. Given we're talking about an increase on the retail sales tax, there's a need for addressing that fifth principle for the income tax for lower income people, and that's restoring the earned income tax credit. These are, again, as I said, all contingent on this. When you look at it, this is the amount of revenue raised by the change in the sales tax would be $1.3 billion. The elimination of the sales tax on motor fuels would eliminate essentially $750 million. And these are the net numbers that would result if all is approved. We would end up with transportation funding of $1.3 billion. Of that, $1.2 billion goes to roads. In terms of public transit and rail, other comprehensive transportation fund needs, there would be a $100 million increase. Our schools come out ahead by $300 million. Locals come out ahead by $100 million. And then total tax relief. In terms of, I'm going to move to the other side, not to surprise you, but to show you that this is the proposal. How did we do on the principles? Needed funding for roads and bridges. We have the $1.3 billion, so we can check that box. Protecting schools, communities, public transit, and rail. As again, schools, they essentially get $300 million, which roughly would equate to $200 per pupil. Communities have $100 million. And then public transit and rail, $112 million. So we can check that box. Transportation taxes going to transportation. Again, we're eliminating the retail sales tax from fuels. And if you look at the other provisions, they're all dedicated to transportation. We can check that box. Competitive prices at the pump. If you look at what happens and you implement this, the taxes on gasoline from state taxes would go to about 42 cents a gallon, slightly less than that. If you look at the average price of gas over the last year and take that into account for sales taxes, it was about 20 cents or so. So this would be about, compared to last year's average, it would be about a 3-cent increase, less than a nickel. So we believe we can check that box. The other thing I would mention, if you look at surrounding states, Illinois and Indiana in particular are between 38 and 40 cents. They also have toll roads, so it'd be plus tolls. Ohio is the only lower state at 28, but they have tolls, and they're looking to increase theirs. So in relationship to other states. The other thing is tax relief for lower income Michiganders. That's where the earned income tax credit becomes applicable in terms of restoring that to the 20% number. So we have $260 million in relief there. We can check that box. The other thing I would mention that I could have put in any place when you talk about the sales tax going to 7%, if you look at surrounding states, we would remain competitive in terms of our sales tax. Compared to Illinois, which is higher, Ohio and Indiana, we're all in the ballpark. 7% is not something that takes us out of the normal area for the Midwest in terms of that. So if you look at it, this is something. We started with principles, and I appreciate the leaders. Each one had a different emphasis on what principle meant the most to them. We found a solution that did this. The challenging part is it requires a ballot proposal, which is more work, but isn't it good that we ask our citizens to participate in this process in a constructive way? So with that, I'd like to come back up and start the more traditional process. I appreciate your putting up with me as I sort of go on a field trip to walk you through the details, but this is a significant proposal that I'm very excited to be supportive of. It's not done yet. There's a lot of work to be done in terms of getting 2/3 support, which we need in both houses, both chambers. But again, that's why I'm excited to be here with the leaders who are very supportive of this proposal, but I'm going to let them speak for themselves. And I do, again, want to reiterate, thank you for your partnership in this good, hard work.